Number 5. The Mysterious Cornr. On November 10, 2018, a 911 call was made by a farmer in Earlville, Iowa, reporting a serious accident involving his wife. The call revealed that 39-year-old Amy Mullis suffered a severe injury after falling on a corn rake. He was rushing his bleeding wife to the hospital when the operator directed him to stop and perform CPR on her due to her critical condition. Despite these efforts, Amy succumbed to her injuries, but the course of events would take a shocking turn when the medical examiner characterized her death as a homicide. Amy, whose maiden name was Amy Lynn Fuller, grew up in the Eldora region of Iowa. Opting for a nursing career, Amy earned her registered nurse qualification, and in 2003, she encountered Todd Mullins at the Delaware County Fair. They got married on September 11, 2004, in Manchester, Iowa, and they had 3 kids together, namely Tristan, Taylor, and Wyatt. Amy worked as a nurse while her husband managed a farming enterprise comprising of 3 properties. But their marital journey turned problematic in 2013 when Amy had an extramarital affair. This affair prompted the couple to seek counseling and work on repairing their relationship. Todd's behavior became increasingly controlling, and he demanded that Amy account for her every move. To her friends, Amy became known as POT, or Prisoner of Todd, signifying the extent of Todd's possessiveness and control, which verged on abuse. Despite counseling and attempts to mend their marriage, Amy's feelings of dissatisfaction persisted. In the summer of 2018, she became involved in a secret relationship with Jerry Frasher, a co-worker who also worked on the farm. For Jerry, the affair was primarily physical, but he suspected that Amy may have held deeper feelings. During this time, Todd noticed an excessive amount of text messages exchanged between Amy and Jerry, raising suspicions of infidelity. Todd's jealousy escalated as rumors about Amy and Jerry's affair circulated within the small community. Amy became increasingly anxious about Todd's reaction. Friends recounted Amy's fears that Todd might discover her affair and her desire to leave him. Despite her wanting to end the marriage, Amy felt trapped because Todd, adamant about retaining their assets, refused divorce due to social and financial reasons. The situation escalated in early November 2018 when Amy sustained an injury during a medical procedure. A mere 4 days later, on November 10th, Amy was found lying wounded in a barn on the family property, impaled by a corn rake. Todd's actions following the discovery were questioned. Despite his claims that he pulled the rake from her back to free her from the confined space, Todd did not provide immediate aid or call for emergency assistance. As he rushed her to the hospital, he called 911 for guidance, and first responders continued CPR upon arrival. She was pronounced dead not long after her arrival, and an initial report from the medical examiner revealed that Amy had suffered 6 puncture wounds on her back. More injuries were noted on her chin, cheekbone, knees, and the knuckles of her hands. Curiously, the corn rake involved in the incident only had 4 tines, which prompted the medical examiner to seek a comprehensive autopsy from a forensic pathologist. This autopsy, conducted 2 days later, unveiled a shocking truth. Amy had likely been struck by the corn rake at least twice, leading to the conclusion that her death was a homicide. The investigation led to a search of the Mullis house, including their camera system and an iPad. Although the camera footage was largely unhelpful due to missing segments, the iPad yielded crucial insights. Among its search history were terms like "Did ancient cultures kill adulterers?", "Thrill of the hunt", and "Killing unfaithful woman". Todd claimed that the entire family used the iPad. When confronted by investigators, Todd vehemently denied any involvement in his wife's death, challenging them for evidence. He insisted that Amy had experienced a dizzy spell and fell onto the corn rake. In March 2019, 4 months after Amy's demise, Todd was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Ultimately, the jury found Todd guilty. He sought a new trial, citing ineffective legal representation, but this request was denied. In September 2020, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole and ordered to pay restitution. Number 4. Depraved Fantasies. On the night of June 3, 2018, A wealthy farmer's wife and her lover murdered the husband after their disturbing exchange of messages discussing acts of violence and depravity, including having intercourse in the victim's blood. 53-year-old Angela Taylor and 54-year-old Paul Cannon got into a twisted relationship, sending around 28,000 explicit WhatsApp messages to each other over 148 days while planning the murder of Angela's husband, 69-year-old William Taylor. These messages also revealed the pair's sinister intentions and their shared fantasies. Police interviews showed Angela's refusal to disclose the location where her husband's body was disposed of, denying the opportunity for his family to provide a proper burial. In contrast, Paul declined to respond to inquiries about the abrupt ending of their fantasies shortly after William's murder. During the trial, Judge Michael Kay highlighted the mystery surrounding the events of that fateful night, suggesting that only Paul and Angela know about the exact course of events. The evidence pointed to the likelihood that William was attacked and killed in the farmyard, most likely by strangulation or suffocation. Despite Angela's actions, William's love for her endured. The primary motive for the murder may have stemmed from Angela's deep-seated resentment toward William, which drove her to collaborate with Paul in a horrifying plot. The duo talked about inflicting harm on William, including securing him to a chair and engaging in sexual activities in his presence. Disturbingly, they even contemplated murdering him, deliberating over weaponry and the cost of hiring a contract killer. One message from Paul outlined their plan, engaging in intimate acts on William's kitchen table, drenched in blood, while he was bound to a chair. Paul's arrest revealed explicit messages on his iPhone 6, which he had assumed were safe from discovery once deleted. Despite Angela and Paul's claims that these messages were merely fantasies, the court deemed them as evidence of premeditation. Both Angela and Paul had maintained that these exchanges were merely part of their romantic relationship and provided a means to vent their frustrations about William's refusal to grant Angela a divorce. The jury's verdict held them accountable for murdering William, who was heartbroken when he learned about Angela's affair. His disappearance in June 2018 was followed by the discovery of his decomposed body, positioned upright in the River Hiss in Hitcham, Hertfordshire in February of the next year. Although no apparent signs of violence were evident, such as a knife or gunshot wounds, the examination revealed a fracture in a neck bone, suggesting potential strangulation. He had probably been smothered before his body ended up in the river. Sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 22 years before being eligible for parole, the two culprits will likely be in their late 70s when they are given a chance to get out. Do you think the criminal couple needed rehabilitation alongside imprisonment? Let us know in the comments and hit subscribe while you're at it. Number 3. Crime against a jogger. On August 19, 2020, an Arkansas farmer sexually assaulted and murdered a 25-year-old jogger. The details of the case came to light through court documents after he was arrested. 28-year-old Quake Llewellyn is said to have intentionally hit Sydney Sutherland with his truck while she was jogging on Jackson County Road 41 South. He then loaded her body onto his truck and took her to a remote field. That's where he sexually assaulted her and then buried her body. After committing all these criminal acts, Llewellyn joined a Facebook group dedicated to finding Sutherland after she was reported missing. Sutherland, who worked as a nurse, was last seen alive on August 19th while jogging. Her disappearance was reported when she did not return home to her boyfriend, Alex Nicholson. After an extensive search operation, police found her body 2 days later. They had earlier found her iPhone about a quarter-mile from her home. Authorities became suspicious of Llewellyn when they analyzed data from his cell phone, which showed that he had been around the area where Sutherland's phone had been found. While Llewellyn and Sutherland were acquainted with each other, the exact nature of their relationship remains unclear. Llewellyn was arrested on August 21st and was being held without bond at the Randolph County Jail. He faces serious charges, including capital murder, sexual assault, kidnapping, and abuse of a corpse. During his initial court appearance, Llewellyn came out wearing a bulletproof vest and an orange prison jumpsuit. He remained silent during the proceedings. Authorities revealed that Llewellyn confessed to killing Sutherland when they questioned him about her sudden disappearance. The judge found enough cause to charge Llewellyn and was ordered to be held without bond until his next court appearance on October 1st. In 2016, Llewellyn, along with his father Michael and grandfather Donald, was recognized as the Jackson County Farm Family of the Year. The Llewellyn family, who owns 5,800 acres across 4 counties, has a strong history of farming. Sutherland was known to be an avid runner and often ran with her phone and Apple Watch. She worked as a nurse at Harris Medical Center in Newport, and according to her co-workers, she was known for her bright and outgoing personality. She lived with her boyfriend, and the sheriff confirmed that there were no indications of issues with him when the search of her began. Eventually, Llewellyn was sentenced to life in prison. Number 2. Hate against food production. In September 2020, a wave of attacks on white farmers in South Africa led to the death of a 44-year-old female farmer named Chantel Kershaw, who was sexually assaulted and strangled to death. Another rural worker, 21-year-old farm manager Brendan Horner, was also brutally tortured and killed. Chantel, a divorcee, was ambushed by 2 armed black men while she was working on her land in Delmas, located east of Johannesburg. She was loading a lawnmower onto her truck when the attackers snuck up behind her. They forcibly stripped her and held her down in her garage, where they strangled her to death after ripping off her underwear and stuffing it into her mouth. During this attack, her mother, 65-year-old Greta Spears, was bludgeoned with a pistol, and a maid was restrained as the farm was looted. The 2 assailants fled the scene in the family's white Chevrolet station wagon, but were caught by a neighborhood watch group after Chantel's mother alerted them. Brendan, a farm manager, experienced a separate and equally horrifying incident. On October 1st, 2020, he was reported missing by his girlfriend. After searching throughout the night, he was discovered on the morning of October 2nd by his father Robbie and his colleague Jaco Kleingeld. The discovery was guided by a knife placed on top of Brendan's cap, which led them to his body. His body was found about 400 meters away from his home on the De Rots farm near Paul Roux. Brendan was tied to a metal fence post with a girdle and a black woven rope around his neck. He had suffered stab wounds to his head, face, shoulder, arm, and hands. His injuries indicated signs of torture and strangulation. Evidence also suggested that he had put up a fight, as he had injuries to his fists and scrapes along his body, as if he had been dragged on the ground. Following his discovery, the police were called to the scene. The autopsy later confirmed the cause of death as strangulation. On a Thursday evening, while Brendan was likely already dead, security cameras captured footage of his Toyota Hilux pickup truck in Paul Roux. The next morning, the truck was found 15 kilometers away from Dakefontein Farm along the N5 route to Bethlehem. The car contained bloodstains believed to belong to 2 different individuals. The morning after the murder, witnesses observed 3 men with blood-stained clothing coming from a mountain near the murder scene. On October 3rd, police arrested 2 suspects, 32-year-old Sekwecha Isaiah Mahlamba and 42-year-old Sekola Pete Matlaletsa in the township of Fateng Tse Ncho, which is located outside Paul Roux. The clothing and shoes of these suspects were found to be bloodstained and were sent for forensic testing. Some experts referred to these attacks as a form of war against food production and considered them a message to farmers to stop their work. Various agricultural groups and right organizations highlighted the need for better police protection of farmers and a collective effort to address these violent incidents, which could lead to the abandonment of farms and a loss of livelihood of workers and dependents. Eventually, most of the suspects were let go because of lack of evidence connecting them to the crimes. Number 1. A fatal farm explosion. In April 2023, a massive fire, believed to be triggered by a suspected methane explosion, destroyed a dairy farm in Texas. It led to the death of around 18,000 cattle and gravely injured a worker. The incident was said to be the deadliest barn fire involving cattle since the Animal Welfare Institute began recording barn fires in 2013. The value of the cattle lost in the fire was estimated at around $36 million, with each animal priced at approximately $2,000. This amount also does not account for the additional cost of structural damage caused by the fire. Authorities disclosed that the fire extended to the building where the cattle were held before entering the milking area and a holding pen. Unfortunately, only a small percentage of the cattle survived. The blast happened at the South Fork Dairy in Dimmitt, Texas, and it's speculated that the explosion was caused by machinery overheating, which ignited with the methane present on the farm. However, the exact cause has not been confirmed. Methane, produced naturally by cows through their digestive processes and stored in manure, is believed to have contributed to the explosion. The dairy farm is categorized as a large dairy farm due to its ownership of over 15,000 cows. A female worker was severely injured during the fire while she was trapped inside the milking building. Firefighters managed to rescue her from the flames, but she is still in the hospital for treatment. The explosion's aftermath has raised concerns not only about the loss of life, but also the potential economic impact on the local community. The people in Dimmitt have started to rally around Frank Brand and his family during this difficult time. Sheriff Sal Rivera of Castro County revealed that the surviving cows will be relocated to another facility owned by the Brand family. In total, the farm held 19,000 cows. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality Amarillo region arrived at the scene to assist with the disposal of the cow carcasses. The setback for the Dimmitt community is unimaginable, but they expect to make things better soon with the help of the local government. Do you think farmers in the US are facing a real threat? Let us know in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Bad Badger.